Hello, today I'm going to rank 11 big poker sites / networks for you so you will know which sites are the best to play cash games on. By best, as a professional cash game player and coach, I mean the most profitable sites. So I'll take into account the rake structure, the rake bag, and the softness of the pool. Of course, having fun on a poker site is a very important topic too, especially for recreational players. So which site has the best software, the best lobby, the best emojis, where can you chat to other players, are important topics for this industry, as well as security of the site, which are the regulated, which are the unregulated sites. But this is a topic for maybe a separate video. Today I'm just going to focus which online poker sites are the most profitable on. I'll take into account all the sites that I'm familiar with, but it has to have a minimum volume. So I'm not taking into account sites that have very low traffic and basically most of the day are just dead. And also I'm only taking the sites that have access to many people. So global sites, or at least the big US facing sites, but not local markets such as New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Michigan, or nowadays even Ontario and Canada. If you play in any of these locations, I'll have a special tip for you in the end of this video. And also some other local sites like Winamax, which is facing for French players but allows access from other countries as well. I didn't think it'd be a nice comparison to put it in this list, so I left it out. As well as poker apps, no poker apps in this list, and one of the major sites like Coin Poker I'm not familiar enough with to put in this ranking, as I only wanted to take something into account that I really know what I'm talking about. Especially because if you look at online poker rankings that you find on the web, usually they are not nice reviews. It's just some affiliate who wants to sell you a link where they get the most commission on, but this is with the best intention. I just want to give my viewers the sites where you really will be the most profitable without any second intention. I don't mind where you play, you can choose whatever you want. I don't have any link for you to sign up with. Just do whatever you want. This is my honest recommendation on which the best sites are for micro and low stakes players. As in my coaching, I focus on 5 to 15 NL players who wish to reach 100 to 200 NL as soon as possible. Please keep in mind that the table is not very static, so if you play 5 NL, maybe the ranking would be a bit different for you than for someone who's playing 50 NL, as well as the ranking for fast fold games would be different than for regular tables. I just try to make an average out of it. Also, one month may be different from the other month because a poker site may launch a new promotion, may cut some rake back, and this will influence the ranking. So maybe 2 months, 3 months ago the ranking would have been different than today, and it may already be different in 3 months from now. But this is just a rough guideline. You can see whether the site you play most volume on ranks well. So now, without further ado, let's start with the ranking. On the 11th place, the Chico network, which has sites such as Bet Online, Sports Betting, and Tiger Gaming. It is a US facing network, so you can play from almost all of the United States as well as almost all over the world. And the position in the ranking may surprise a few of you, as the reputation has been for softer games, but in my experience for most stakes it's not really true. Quite a high number of regular players. And what is most important for this ranking is the higher rake compared to the industry. You have 5.5% as a rake instead of 5%, without the cap being lower. And this part may change from time to time, but they also take extra rake to feed the bad beat jackpot, which you rarely win, so basically you are forced to pay to take part in the lottery. So overall, not good. However, as mentioned, a table is not static, so here, if you just table select on the prime time where the best games are running, you will find a decent table here, and if it's one of the only sites you have access to, it may be worth to at least have an account there, deposit some money, and find 1 or 2 soft tables when you can. On the 10th place, the WPN network with sites such as America's Card Room, Blackjack Poker, or Poker King. It again is a network facing the US, so you can play from most of the states as well as almost all over the world. The games are not very soft on this side. This is the main reason for the 10th position. The regular to recreational player ratio is not good, and also the sites allow HUD, so if you're an individual player, you are facing groups of players that work together. Therefore, if you don't use a HUD very well, you will be in a disadvantage. The rake structure is okay, it's among the best. The rake cap is standard, the rake is just 5%, so nothing wrong here. Now, to assess the rake bag, it is important to distinguish between high volume players and low volume players. High volume players reach high VIP levels and they can get good rakeback, whereas the low volume players, they don't get a good percentage in rakeback at all. They also have a weekly leaderboard called the Beast, which is fed with your rake. The problem is they take away the part they feed for the leaderboard and only take the part that doesn't go to the leaderboard for the rake back. So if you don't make the leaderboard, your rake back is even lower than the percentage they advertise. Pay attention to it. Overall, ACR is not worth it for some regular tables. It's only worth it if you play high volume all over the year on the blitz tables, 50NL, 200 blitz or high stakes games. So for most players, I do not recommend playing here. On the 9th place, we have 888 Poker, which is a global site, but unfortunately not for US players. The player pool is okay, not more, not less, depends on the exact stake. So some of the very low stakes have very soft pools, and then the more the stake increase, the less soft they are. But the problem here is the rake and the rake structure. Rake caps are slightly above other sites, but most importantly, they have for a long time not really paid any rake back. This is key for the low ranking in this site. If you have first deposit bonus, if you find an affiliate who gives you an extra percentages, the ranking of this site would go up, but without any rake back, it is not the best to play on. But again, you can table select and maybe find one or two of the nicer regular tables here if it is a site you use to add a few tables. On the 8th place, GG Poker. GG Poker again is a global facing site or network, as there are natural aids, other skins. And from the US you can play in the regulated markets with the local version, but overall no access from the United States. The player pool is a bit dynamic here. Sometimes you have short stackers, you have Nitio players, but the number of recreational players could be increasing. So overall I would say it is softer than the average global pool. About the rake structure, the rake you pay here is the highest. It depends a bit on your playing style, as they charge pre-flop rake and it accounts easily over 2 BB per 100 in extra rake. But you also have to differentiate between the fast fold games and the regular tables. If you play the smallest stakes of fast fold games, you only have a 3 BB cap, so until about 25 NL Russian cash, you pay more or less the same as on other fast fold sites, maybe even a little bit less on the very low stakes. But overall on the regular tables and on 50 NL plus for the fast fold tables, you pay higher or much higher rake than on other sites. There's also extra rake for the promotions, which just increase variance, so be careful to take that into account too. About the rake back, it's a bit dynamic here. Regular players get less than the recreational player. It depends on the game format. They have the PVI system where for the rake back they don't account the rake that you pay, but just whatever they want depending on the playing style, the player type, and whatever you're winning or whatever else. So unpredictable, unreliable, and yeah, overall, if you're a regular player, lower than on some of the other sites, but not zero, so some rake back. So this was determining to place GG higher than 888 Poker. It is also a HUD-free site, so when you're just starting to take the game seriously, you don't have to worry too much about getting tracked by other players who are more experienced. You can play it in the lowest stakes without a problem, but once you start moving up, I would recommend you to look at different sites. On the 7th place, another global network, the iPoker network, with many skins such as Betson, BetSafe, Betfair Poker, Nordic Bet, Red Star, Guts, Bet365 Poker, among others. The player pool here is somewhat tough, many regulars, but it depends on the exact stake and the volume here is high. So you can table select, and there's always 1, 2, 3, 4 tables that you find that are a little bit softer with recreational players. So if you have it as your only side and if you do proper table selecting, you can make a good table selection here, but overall a little bit more regular than we would like to see. The rake structure here is standard above 10 NL, so 5%, and then the rake cap is a little bit higher from 100 NL onwards, one big blind higher than a few of the other sides. Careful, if you play the lower stakes, then the rake percentage increases, so higher rake. So overall, quite standard except for the lowest stakes. The rake back here is decent, and this is why this network is placed higher than the previous sites. You get 35% gross flat on many skins easily, but with an affiliate you get some extra leaderboards, or you get some extra rakeback, so you can achieve 45% growth without too much of a problem, so the rakeback here is good. For this reason, overall decent sites to play on. You don't need much volume to get good rakeback. It is a site with a HUD, so you need to take into account if you like it or not. And please make sure to be table selecting, because some of the tables are a little bit too reg infested, so depending on the stake, some table selection, leaving and rejoining tables will be required. On place number 6, famous PokerStars. It is a global site but also has local sites in the regulated market. My analysis here is for the global site. The player pool is not the best, a little bit too many regulars, depends on the exact time you're playing because they change around with the rake structures, but overall unfortunately a little bit too rake infested. The rake structure is the best, their rake caps is the lowest, so the maximum amount of big blinds they take per pot is lower here than on basically all of the other sides, therefore you pay a little bit less in rake, which is good for you. And about the rakeback, it's that thing. They have introduced the challenges, and then the rakeback percentages have been different for different players. Here it is really important to you to analyze how much rakeback you're actually getting. If you're getting good rakeback here, besides the lower rake in the first place, this will make up for the slightly tougher pools than on other sides maybe, and this is a side you should be playing on. But they played around in the past, introduced the table caps, so you could only play 4 tables maximum. So pay attention how things are changing, how the softness of the game are changing. PokerStars, there has been a few changes, but overall, if you have decent rakeback here, this should be a side better than the previous ones I mentioned. Now place number 5, Party Poker. There are some local versions for the regulated markets, but I'm talking about the global Party Poker pool and BWin Poker pool. It is surprisingly soft. They have been restricting many countries where there are more regular players than recreational players. So now the player pool really is not as tough as it used to be. If you play 110 or below, you frequently find good regular tables. If you table select carefully, even very good regular tables. So the player pool is fine on this side today. The rake structure is good too, standard 5%. The caps are standard, not much to say here. It's among the best rake structures, not as good as PokerStars, but also not worse than the other sides. The rakeback is also good here. It was better a year ago. Then they introduced something where part of the rakeback is flexible depending on the player type you are. They also cut some of the promotions. But overall for the regular tables 25%, for the fast fold tables 32% is standard, but you easily get an extra 15% with an affiliate. So, 40-50% cashback is really achievable here without having to put too much volume. And then there are also some other promotions sometimes that increase the rakeback, especially for the fast forward tables. So overall, good rakeback here too, and a good side for you to definitely have money on and select some tables or even play fast forward if you like the fast fold games. It's also a site without a HUD if you consider this an advantage for your playing style or your playing experience. On the 4th place we have Unibet Poker. Unibet Poker is also theoretically a global site but many restricted countries, so actually in the end it is mostly European countries. The player pool is soft, so it is softer than basically all of the previous sites that we mentioned, which is a great advantage of this site. The rake structure here is also good. It depends on the stake though, so the lower the stake, the better the rake structure is, and the higher the stake, the worse it gets. So especially for micro stakes players, the rake structure on Unibet is good too. Lastly, about the rakeback, I currently don't have access to Unibet, so I'm not exactly sure for the exact percentage, but it's roughly going to be between 30-40%. I admit I'm not looking through it exactly as I haven't been playing it, but given I know the player pools are still very fine and the rakeback is there, you should be playing this on the lowest stakes, but the higher the stake, the worse the rake structure gets, and also the volume size decreasing, and the advantage of this side is not existent anymore, but for the lower stakes, very good side. Now to the top 3, and I admit I had to be thinking quite a bit about those, and even if I'm ranking them in the top 3, so not only which one is first, second, third, but there are a few disadvantages to all of those sides. This is why it is not a convincing top 3, but it is my top 3 in an end analysis. On place number 3 I have WPT Global. It is a global site, so you can access from many countries, but check whether your country is there too, because there are some restrictions. About the player pool, it shares the player pool with a mainland China app, which if someone knows which app it is, I'd be curious to know, but I'm not exactly sure. Therefore, what I know is there are some softer players from the app. So overall, a very soft site, but the site is new, so they are changing table caps, they're changing rake structures, rake back. Therefore, this may be dynamic and be changing, but overall, very soft poker site. About the rake structure and rake back, I'll keep the analysis simple here as they're changing a few things. The rake looks decent, but it's a bit harder to calculate given it's different for the stakes and with the straddles in it, how the impact is. However, overall decent rake, and the rake back, it looks like with some affiliates you already get decent rake back, but if you have no affiliate for now, they're not paying rake back, but they are going to introduce something. So pay attention to this. Obviously, the more rake back you get, you will have an even better time here. But even without much of a rake back, given the tables are considerably softer than the previous sites, I had to put this on number 3, but they have the table caps. For the past year or so, you were only able to play one cash game table. Now they've increased this, and maybe they increased this even more. So pay attention to this and how it will affect also the softness of the tables. But for now, this site is soft, and while it is soft, it really is recommendable for you to at least check it out and find 1 or 2 very soft tables to add to your grind. On number 2, Global Poker. And this was a difficult one for me given I don't have access to them, but I have several students who play there, so I can give a rough analysis. The player pool is soft. So it's a US facing site only for US players on almost all states and Canada, no players from anywhere else in the world. And the games are considerably softer than on the other global sites. I wasn't sure whether I should be including it, but I'm including it given the player pool is very large if you combine the States and Canada. So probably a larger player pool than some of the European facing sites. So given I've included it, it is on number 2 just because it's a very soft site. You should be playing there if you have access to it and if you like the software, if you trust it. I'm not commenting about the software and whether it's a secure site or not, I'm not sure, but I have done some analysis on it and the games are soft. Rake structure with their 5% is standard, the cap slightly higher than on other sites, but now they've been introducing some rake back, so it makes a difference whether they're playing rake back or not. With the rake back, this site is on number 2. If you don't get rake back here, maybe it fall behind WPT, maybe behind Unibet, but it's among there if you look for a profitable site. Just please pay attention on researching about everything else about this site. And now finally to the best poker site for cash game players who are looking to be profitable. The number 1 has to be the network shared by Bodog, Bovada and Ignition. The reason for it is the softness of the pool. It is a US facing site. You also have Canadian players, Latin American players, and in some Asian countries, I believe. Therefore, not everyone will have access to it, but if you do, check it out. The games are soft. And the reason this is number 1 and not one of the previous sites, again, I wasn't too sure about it. So it has been soft for quite a while. So it's not something new that just came up, that may be changing, but for several years, over several stakes, this has been the number 1 site in terms of softness that doesn't only have access to some local state, for example. You can play on 4 regular tables, but also zone fast fold tables. You can play 2 per stake, and the win rates on zone tables are basically the same as on regular tables on the global sites. So it's really a profitable site. Rake structure is normal, so 5%, the cap a little bit high on some of the stakes, but overall okay. Unfortunately no rake back, but I know that at least on some of these sites with an affiliate you can find something extra, 10, 15, 20% extra. During the deposit bonus you have some good rake back to at least try it out. But without any rake back, it is possible that one of the previous sites could be more profitable. It depends on the volume you play as well. So as I said, this ranking is not to be strict about it. If you play on site number 6 but you believe site number 5 high set is better. It doesn't mean you have to change. It depends on your volume, depends on what kind of tables you play, on so many factors. If you have questions about your specific case, feel free to ask me, I'll try to help you. But this is a rough guideline, so site number 1 should be more profitable for almost all players than site number 10, for example. And the ideal in most cases actually is to be playing in 2-3 lobbies simultaneously. Find the 2-3 softest tables on one side, add with 2 or 3 from another side, and maybe be playing 6 tables across 2 or 3 sides and make the best table selection you can. The softer the table, the more rakeback you get, the better for your win rate. Now my tip to the people in the regulated markets in some of the states in the US and in Ontario, Canada, play in your local sites. It's better than playing on the global sites. They tend to be much softer. Those are the softest sites, excluding apps, that you will find, and you will have rakeback on many of them. So my recommendation for you is those should be the best sites for you. Play on them. Many people all over the world would love to be playing there, but only you can. Enjoy it. Win rates there are very high. Hope you enjoyed this review. Any questions about what poker site is best for you individually, or questions about my coaching, my contacts are here in the description. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.